Time heals everything. You've heard that your whole life. You've probably even said that line yourself. At a funeral, talking to someone in the middle of the night, or trying to comfort somebody. And you believed it. You let time pass, waited for the years to do the work on their own. Until one ordinary day, with no warning at all, you bumped into that old thing and realized it's still there, in the same spot, the same size. The only difference is a layer of dust on top, covering it up. That's how a small pain, the kind that should have closed up in a few weeks, turns into something that quietly runs your life for 10, 15 years. Without you ever noticing it never actually closed. And you can spot it in one small detail, you know? Like a specific kind of situation that still takes you apart inside. Sometimes it's a certain tone of voice someone uses without meaning anything by it. Other times, it's when a person takes too long to reply to a text and your stomach drops before you even understand why. Or it's a criticism the size of a grain of sand that, inside you, blows up to the size of a mountain. From the outside, it looks like an overreaction, but inside, it's an old wound being touched with no anesthesia. And I know you swear you're over it. You can say that out loud, with conviction, and even believe it in the moment. But the subject still weighs on you, and that weight that won't lift is the message that it was never resolved. It just got swept under the rug and stayed there, waiting. So let me open this case with you, because you've spent years accusing the wrong suspect. I'm gonna show you what's really happening in there, because almost nobody stopped to tell you the truth. An emotional wound doesn't live in the event itself. The event already passed. It's back there. It's over. What stayed behind was the conclusion you drew in that moment of pain. When something hurt you, your mind did what it always does to keep you standing. It went looking for a meaning. Fast. Anyone that would do. And the meaning it landed on turned into a short sentence that stuck to you. I'm not enough. You can't trust anyone. If I show who I really am, they'll leave. Every love comes with a bill to pay later. That sentence, that conclusion, is the wound. And there's a cruel little detail here. The memory of what happened to you, you can actually tell today just fine, without your voice shaking. But that sentence that stayed behind keeps working in the dark, steering choices you'd swear on your life are all your own. Now, here's a truth. Every wound wants to close. Yours did too, deep down. But what decides everything is how it closed. When it closes the right way, the edges come back together slowly, and it turns into a scar that doesn't limit you anymore. You remember what happened, but you can live around it without it hurting. It's just that most emotional wounds never got that luxury. You didn't have the space, or the time, or someone by your side to let it reorganize itself calmly. So you did the only thing you could do at the time. You put a layer over it. I don't care. I'm strong. It's done. Moving on. And that worked, on the outside. The surface closed up nice and clean, but underneath that scab, the original sentence was still there, intact, alive, kept. Closing on the outside is one thing, healing on the inside is something completely different, and it's very likely you've mixed the two up your whole life, without ever suspecting a thing. And this is where the biggest misunderstanding of all lives. Every now and then, that buried sentence rises up. Some situation brushes against it by accident, and you feel it hurt again, fresh, like it was yesterday. And what do you do in that moment? You read that pain like a fire alarm. You think, look, it's getting worse, I'm backsliding, I'll never get over this, and you shut it all down again, fast, hard. But the discomfort of an old thing surfacing doesn't always mean it got worse. A lot of the time, it means the opposite. It's the only chance that thing has to finally be digested. Feeling it again can be part of truly closing it, and not a sign that you broke. Now, one important detail, and I need to be honest with you here. What decides this is the size of what comes up. If it's something you can stand to look at, then look at it. If it's something that swallows you, that freezes you, that pulls the floor out from under your feet, that's not a job to do alone. That's when you need someone trained by your side. Hold on to that difference gently, because I'm gonna come back to it later, and it's the most important part of this video. And so we get to the question that brought you here. Why do your old wounds never actually heal? The answer is simpler and more uncomfortable than you'd like, and the real culprit was hiding in the most unlikely place this whole time, inside you. It's actually a move you keep making without even noticing you're making it. They don't heal because you reopen them before they can close, and that almost never happens in the obvious way. You're not sitting around dwelling on it on purpose, choosing to suffer. It's something subtler. You live your day-to-day in a way that keeps proving that original sentence right, keeps it hammering in your head, over and over, without stopping. If your sentence is, I'm not enough, Notice how you end up surrounding yourself with people who make you feel not enough. How you pick goals where enough never arrives. How you let every compliment slide off and file every criticism away in a drawer. If your sentence is, "They'll leave once they really know me," notice how you hide, how you test people, how you push them away before they get the chance to push you first. Every time life proves that sentence right, the wound opens again, in the exact same spot. But easy, you're not crazy for doing this. Your mind repeats these situations because it's the only path it knows. It goes back to the familiar place to try, this time to win the match. Except the win never comes, and the cut gets a little deeper with every restart. And here's what almost no video about this will tell you. Why would you keep reopening something that hurts this much? Because nobody does that for no reason. You keep at it because, somewhere along the way, that wound stopped being just a pain and became part of who you think you are. "I'm not enough" stopped being a sentence you carry and became the lens you read the whole world through. It organizes your life, explains your failures, justifies your limits, and even gives you a familiar little corner to stay in. And so actually healing starts to feel scary, because healing means losing the only version of you that you know. Who are you without the story that you're not enough? You don't know, and the unknown is scarier than the pain you know. So the wound stays standing for a reason that has nothing to do with weakness. Closing it charges a price nobody warned you about, becoming a person you don't even know how to be yet. The good news is that fixing this isn't the monster you're imagining. You probably think the cure means digging through every bad moment of your life, crying for months straight, going down a bottomless pit and hoping you can climb back out. You can forget that part. Remember that what keeps the wound from closing is you reopening it without noticing. So the work starts in a much smaller, much more doable place than it seems, stopping the specific move that reopens it. I'm not talking about the whole pain at once, just the move. There's one exact action you repeat almost every week that proves your sentence right. It might be going back to talk to a person who only hurts you and leaves you hanging. It might be rereading old messages at 2 in the morning with the light of your phone on your face in the dark. It might be that conversation you have alone in the shower, attacking yourself with the exact words of someone who left a long time ago. You don't need to heal everything today, you just need to find that one move and stop repeating it. That alone unlocks something. The wound starts getting enough days of peace to, for the first time in a long time, try to close. Stopping the reopening is already half the road. The other half is how you make contact with what stayed buried. And here, there are two opposite mistakes, and both are equally common. The first is running, never looking, keeping the scab in place at all costs, pretending everything's fine. That's probably the mistake that brought you here, so we already know it doesn't work. The second is the opposite extreme, picking at it, digging it up, forcing yourself to feel everything again at full force, with that idea that suffering more heals you faster. That only reopens the wound again. What works sits between the two. Small contact, controlled and gentle. Looking at that sentence for a moment, without drowning in it, and coming back up to the surface. Then again, a little bit, when you've got the breath for it. And ideally, not completely alone. And there's one last truth you're gonna have to swallow, maybe the hardest one of all. This takes as long as it takes. Your wound doesn't care about your hurry. It doesn't care that you want it to be okay by a specific date, by a trip, to prove something to someone who isn't even looking anymore. Weeks, months, sometimes a lot more than that. Wanting it badly doesn't speed anything up. What closes the wound is gentle repetition, at its pace, not yours. And this is where I want to give you something to do, because understanding it in a video doesn't actually change anyone. It's just that, with a subject like this, I'm not going to ask you to dive into anything deep. Quite the opposite. Over the next 7 days, your only job is to notice. No forcing, no excavating, no digging around for anything. When that old weight rises up, instead of shutting it all down on autopilot like you always have, stop for a second and try to name 2 things. Which sentence is being touched there and which move reopened it? Just observe from a distance. Jot it down in your phone's notes app if that helps you see it. If you want, drop down in the comments and tell me which sentence you found guiding you behind the scenes all this time. Reading other people's patterns helps more people than you'd think, including you. Now, let me pull together what to do with all of this. First thing, time on its own closes nothing. What closes it is what you do with the wound while time passes. Second, that scab you laid over it disguised the problem your whole life, but never healed it. Third, when the old pain rises, it isn't always getting worse. A lot of the time, it's finally trying to resolve itself, and you shut it down at exactly the wrong moment, out of fear. Fourth, you don't have to heal everything at once. You have to find the exact move that reopens it and stop repeating it. And fifth, small, gentle contact, for as long as it takes, ideally with company. None of these things is forget it and move on, because it was trying to forget that exact thing that kept you stuck all this time. And before we finish, the most important part of all, there are wounds too deep for you to reach on your own. Some things were too big, or too old, or happened when you were too young to have any defense against them, and it's okay that it's that way. It's human that it's that way. Looking for a good professional, a psychologist, a therapist, is not the last resort of someone who failed to fix themselves alone. It's exactly that controlled contact we described here, just done beside someone trained to hold, with you, what you couldn't hold on your own. If what's behind the scab of the wound is big, please, don't face it in the dark. Get real help. This isn't a pretty line to end a video on. It's the most serious thing I'll say to you today. And to close, now you see what happened. And what we can see, we can start to change. And I'll be right here, every week, investigating a new case for us to solve. See you in the next video.